Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats.
And welcome to this Tuesday edition of Pucks Across Borders, your daily betting preview for the National Hockey League. We are back. I know shows have been a little bit slower in the last month or so, but trying to get some shows pumped out as often as possible. So good to be back. As always, would like to remind everybody, we are brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50%, 50% off. And with our promo code Sports Addict, you get an extra 10% off regular priced and sales priced cards. That's up to 60% off selected cards at the First Round Collectible store. Use promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order. Also brought to you by the wonderful, wonderful people at Total Apex Media. They have some terrific work going on. TotalApexSports.com. Excellent content with regards to the NBA playoffs, to football. Draft just happened, to hockey, obviously playoffs in full swing, baseball as well. They have betting websites, they have general news websites, they have, gossip and culture and the whole deal. So go to totalapexsports.com and find links to their other websites there as well. All a part of Total Apex Media. Once again, he was on a couple weeks ago to break down at the beginning of the NHL playoffs, and he is back with me again today, Mr. Jim Berenger. Thank you so much for joining me once again, man. I said this last time, you're a busy guy, and I appreciate you making time for this show, man. Thank you so much. How are we doing on an NHL playoff Tuesday? Sorry, Stanley Cup playoffs Tuesday.
Yes, good. Mark, good to be here, man. Great to have this relationship that we're doing here. Glad to be on, filling in as always here. Wish I could have helped you out a little bit more over the last couple of days. Love talking hockey with you because the episode that we did on my show was fire. A lot of people really reached out and said we had great stuff going on. But I'm glad to be here. Stanley Cup playoffs, full effect. Could have some handshakes here as we maybe wrap up a Tuesday night, and when we reconvene another day, there could be some people moving on, marching on, and becoming, a chance to win a Stanley Cup somewhere down the road. Who knows?
So typically on this show, we talk about the night that's ahead of us. Sometimes we talk about rumors or some trades, or sometimes we talk about different stuff. But generally speaking, we just talk betting. We talk the night that is coming up in just a couple hours, and we don't get too in the weeds with kind of what else is going on in the National Hockey League. And because let's be real, man, if we talked about everything, we could be here for like 3 hours.
Yes.
But the news yesterday coming out, or was it this morning? Yesterday coming out that Mike Sullivan is no longer in Pittsburgh as the coach of the Penguins. I heard this question asked earlier, and you mentioned something else to me pre-show that I do want to pick your brain about a little bit. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this just because we got lots of other stuff to talk about with regards to the playoffs. But I heard this question posed earlier on a different show, and I thought it was a great question, and I wanted to hand it to your way. So the Anaheim Ducks are without a coach, right? The Boston Bruins, I know Joe Sacco, but they are looking still for a coach, and he is on the list of people that they are looking at. The New York Rangers are without a coach. The Pittsburgh Penguins are now without a coach. The Seattle Kraken are without a coach, and reports are coming out. Friedman, very reliable source for Sportsnet. He came out just within the last hour saying that reports are coming out that Rick Tocchet will most likely not be back for the Vancouver Canucks. So, out of all those teams, all right, the Ducks, the Bruins, the Rangers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, Seattle Kraken, Vancouver Canucks, the Philadelphia Flyers. I know Brad Shaw was in there to finish out the season. Is he like their next coach, or are they
looking? They're looking.
Okay,
they're looking because I'll tell you this right now: with Rick Tocchet on the board, you can guarantee that Briere made the phone call and is making a phone call to get Rick Tocchet into Philadelphia.
So, out of all of those teams, Jim Behringer, they call you and say. All of these teams call you, and they all give you the same amount of cash, equal dough. They all give you a shout. I guess Chicago's technically
Chicago's out there too. Yep.
Out of all of these teams, what team is Mr. Jim Behringer going for? If he could choose from any of these teams, all same cash, what team do you think is the best? And I know it's very broad. You can make cases for and against all of these teams, but what is the most appealing place for you right now?
Now, look, I'm a winning guy. I like to win. Very competitive. I want my team to be competitive. I want to show those traits. I'd probably go Anaheim, to be honest. I think that, to me, Anaheim Ducks, to me, is the most desirable job out of everybody because, let's be honest, New York, too much drama, right? You bring a coach in there, okay, great. But you don't know with that owner, 1 year, great success. Second year, what happens if you fail? Oh, got to be out the door again. Do you want to deal with those problems? Now you have the Anaheim Ducks. For me, Anaheim, look, they have a chance to do something real smart here. And you bring in a coach, a young coach, like if it was me, I could grow with that team, similar to what John Cooper did with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Mold that team in my vision. We're going to have a long-term future together. Yes, I understand coaches get hired to get fired. But Tampa, he was in their system. And they brought all these kids together. And he's still been there, and they won a couple of cups. Now got reports are coming out. Like, oh, if he loses, he could lose his job. I mean, if Tampa wants to go down that road, fine. They're going to regret it. Because
of course.
There's no one's going to get that team to play the way they are playing like John Cooper can. And I think he's the perfect fit for that team. Now, coaches do have a lifeline, and, 10 years is a long time. The problem is there's too much turmoil in Vancouver. Chicago's not even close to being ready.
No.
The New York Rangers have too many, there's too much drama with that team. And the issue is with the Rangers is if you're going to have a coach, you got to come in there and say, hey, look, it's my way or the highway.
I agree.
Like, you can't just be like, oh, well, we got to communicate about it. No. The coach is going to lay down the law. It's my way or highway. And if you don't want to get on board on how we play a system or what management's doing, and you're going to mail it in on some nights because you don't like what upper management is doing, the door's right there. We'll figure out a way to make it work. Boston's nowhere. They're going the other way, so wouldn't want to jump on that train. Besides, if I get hired there, is the GM going to get fired? And then the next GM, I'm not even his guy. So, to me, and Seattle, there's great potential there, but management there is, I'm not sold on management there. I don't know what they're doing. Like Jason Botterill, okay, great. But Ron Francis is still in charge as the team president. I feel bad for, the next coach that goes in there because what's the expectations for the Seattle Kraken right now? Not playoffs. It's not.
Yeah.
The Anaheim Ducks are the best option right now. If you really think about it, a team that took I'm not going to say they're going to, do what they did again next year, but there's potential for that team to be a playoff team. I'll criticize Pat Verbeek for saying it, that the expectation is playoffs next year, though it's a tough division. But it's not out of the question for them to do what they did again next year. And that team could be molded the right way. You move a couple of guys out. I think Gibson probably gets moved. You got to decide on Trevor Zegras. The other places, too much drama.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And I think number one on Seattle, I would want, and I mean, we talked about this on like your show. Check it out, Full Press Hockey on YouTube. The stuff we talked about with regards to the playoffs at the end, that's out of date by now. But all the other coach stuff, that's still
coach
very
stuff.
relevant.
We'll drop some clips along the way.
Oh, yeah. All the coach stuff, that's very relevant. I think with Seattle, I would want to know that the management has realistic expectations of what they are. Because I think if you're firing coaches and moving GMs and doing this and that, I don't think you have a realistic view. I mean, my wonderful co-host Andre, he picked Seattle to be competitive towards the end and maybe make the playoffs. I feel like for the most part, people knew what Seattle was. Clearly, they didn't. I agree with you when it comes to the Anaheim Ducks, and I think that you're in a really good position with them. Similar, I know it's a much different situation, but I do think one similarity remains with the Montreal Canadiens is the Canadiens wanted to be competitive at the end of March and early April. That was the Canadiens' plan. If they miss the playoffs, that's okay. But we want to be 4 or 5 points back with, 3-4 weeks to go and be competitive. And I think the Ducks absolutely have that opportunity next season. All right. Before we get into the playoffs, you made a comment to me at pre-show, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but it was a very, very tantalizing comment by yourself, Jim. Tell me what you said and explain yourself, because I'm fascinated. Because every show or podcast or article that I read, everyone is saying that this coach that you're about to talk about is going to have a job anywhere in the league if he wants it. And your opinion is slightly different. Talk to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't hire Mike Sullivan right away. I don't think... Look, at one point, he was one of the top 5 coaches in the league. That was in 2018. We're now in 2025. That was 7 years ago. By the way, 8 years ago was the last time he won a Stanley Cup. By the way, 7 years ago was the last time he got out of the first round with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yep.
Coaching aside, the Pittsburgh Penguins, yes, management aside, roster decisions, he was part of the reason why Tristan Jarry was still in Pittsburgh. He signed a 3-year contract extension knowing what was coming and was beloved by ownership. But yet, this move in Pittsburgh should have happened years ago, but ownership didn't want to pay him to go away. The writing was on the wall. Team couldn't hold leads in 2023. That's a big reason why they missed the playoffs. Oh, by the way, team couldn't hold leads in 2022 when they did make the playoffs and lost in 7 games to the Rangers. Multiple third-period leads the Pittsburgh Penguins blew under Mike Sullivan as a head coach. Not to mention the questionable coaching decisions made at the Four Nations face-off, leaving Kyle Connor off the final game roster.
Oh, my goodness.
And being a healthy scratch. The guy just scores against Jordan Binnington. That doesn't matter. That history doesn't matter. In favor of guys that were hurt. Okay, look, I think he's a good coach, but while things at times in Pittsburgh looked good, for the most part, they weren't really great, and people were looking to get rid of him earlier than they did, but they couldn't because Pittsburgh, his contract never even kicked in yet. His new extension. They're always a lifeline on coaches. He won back-to-back cups in 2016 and 2017. Loyalty one way, as Derek Jeter said, is stupidity. Sidney Crosby can love Mike Sullivan all he wants. These players need to start realizing this is a business. And in the business of hockey and winning, sometimes recycling coaches isn't the greatest thing in the world. Okay, great. He goes to Boston and New York. What happens if they don't win?
Yeah.
Think about it. His Stanley Cups were 2016 and 2017. He did an admirable job doing it. No Letang the one year. They played defense. They had he hasn't had goaltending. Whose fault is that? Well, he still loved Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry let him down. Defensively in front of him, they didn't play well. The system that he played in Pittsburgh wasn't really great. The power play wasn't clicking. All this stuff and the conflict from ownership and GM, right? Oh, well, we have to stay competitive because we have Sid and Chris Letang and Malkin. But Dubas is like, well, we got to rebuild. We got to restock the cupboard. We don't have guys. You had a guy, Jake Getzel. Why'd you get rid of him? Don't know. We needed to do it. Okay, not good enough reason for me. I just look at what Mike Sullivan's done over the last couple of years, and I'm just not sold on it, the body language. Look, he plays a good defensive style, but the style breaks down, and you could clearly see some of the decisions that he's made recently. To me, I wouldn't go rushing into hiring somebody knowing there's other guys out there that I need to talk to first. If he ends up being the best available option, great, but I'm not clamoring to jump on the bandwagon because what if the same things happen again? This time it's in a bigger market.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't really have a thought or opinion one way or the other. I think Pittsburgh in general has just been surrounded by so much bad decision making that I just feel like if Dubas was fired, which he signed I think a 7-year deal, he's in year 3 now, or two or 3, whatever it is. I feel like when he gets fired, that might be somebody's I don't know, man, that guy's decision making not that great. Mike Sullivan, I think that whole situation is just so tainted that I find it very hard to judge. The only person involved in the Pittsburgh Penguins that I can judge and know exactly how I feel is Sidney Crosby. He's still Sidney Crosby. He's still one of the best players in the National Hockey League. I think this is a whole other conversation. We're not going to get into it today. I think we all want him to leave. Who knows if that's going to happen? But other than that, I don't know what to feel about anyone in that Pittsburgh Penguins team because it's just been so much bad decision making. Same thing with Seattle, not being realistic with what you have. And they're just beating a dead horse year after year after year.
No, I agree with you 100%. Crosby, for me, Crosby probably should just he's not going to make any rash decisions. Oh, Mike Sullivan's out, I want to leave. But I think maybe now before everything really kicks in for this team, does he decide that, hey, you know what, maybe it's time to leave Pittsburgh. As much as I am a loyal guy, maybe it is time. Maybe I need to do what's best for me right now.
Well, and it's not even just best for him, Jim.
Best for the organization.
100%. Same with Malkin, although Malkin, I don't want to get too into a Pittsburgh but Malkin's one of those players where some nights he looks like he's at the end of his career, and for 2-3 week stretches, the guy looks phenomenal. Same with Chris Letang. I don't know what they do there, but
I'll say one final Pittsburgh note before we get out of here.
All right,
2022, this team had a decision to make. It made the tough decision with Marc-Andre Fleury at the expansion draft of Vegas. They moved on from him. He wanted to stay, all this stuff, whatever, contract, okay, money. At some point, this organization needed to decide Chris Letang or Evgeny Malkin, not both guys. I would have stuck with Letang and let Malkin have walked in free agency that year and started the rebuild and retool then. And it would have been fine. It would have been a pain for a year, maybe 2. The team still wouldn't have made the playoffs, but you would have been in a better position today than you are now. That's all I'll say, because I think most people agree, and I think it stinks for Chris Letang because he's probably, look, I don't have this 100%, but the guy's health issues, and I wish him all the best, but I think his health issues are going to be a reason why he probably hangs up his skates soon, just because he's just got so much going on. But this team has to decide what it wants to do. And I think Kyle Dubas basically said enough of trying to play two sides, two directions. I'm picking a direction and I'm sticking in this rebuild.
Yeah. And I mean, kudos to him for trying. Washington tried it and they got it right. Pittsburgh tried it and they got it wrong. So you know what, man? You tried to make the most of it. You tried to make Sidney Crosby's, final 3, 4, 5 years, relevant and successful. Good on you, but you failed. And now's the time to move on. But that's another conversation for another day. All right, man. So moving on to the NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm just rolling here. Okay, where we stand right now, Winnipeg, St. Louis 2-2, Dallas, Colorado 3-2, Vegas, Minnesota tied at 2, Kings, Edmonton tied at 2, like we expected from the Western Conference, very tight all the way through. And then every single series in the East is 3-1. So up until last night, every series in the West was 2-2 until Dallas beat Colorado, and then after last night, every series in the East is 3-1. I'll start with this, and we do have 4 games to talk about tonight later on, so we will get to those series then. Let's start with last night really quickly, and then we'll dive into some things that happened over the weekend. Dallas, Colorado. I'm really interested to see what you think about this. I'm very close to this series as I cover the Dallas Stars. I want the Dallas Stars to win. I'm not a fan. I love covering this team. I enjoy covering this team. I've got to know their fan base. I want them to do well, but I also want to keep writing. So it's a little bit self-serving why I want them to win. That being, and I mean, I don't want to write about the 5 regular season MVPs. I want to write about games. So let's
want to write about the playoffs. Let's go.
Let's keep this going. I thought that last night's performance, not only was it their best performance of the playoffs so far, it was the best performance they've had in 2 months. I have yet to see, and we talked about this before, I've written about this. If you've watched the show, you've heard me talk about this. The most unconvincing 7-game winning streak that I have ever seen, followed by a 7-game losing streak, which speaks for itself, followed by a 5-1 loss in game 1. That wasn't a 5-1 loss, but still not the best, followed by 2 overtime wins, followed by a complete no-show. After 10 minutes, they just took their skates off and went home on Saturday night. That game to me, man, and I know a lot of people with the injuries to Robertson and Heiskanen and what Colorado's been doing, a lot of people jump ship on the Stars at the beginning of the postseason. I picked the Stars in 7 games, but I understand where people were coming from. That game on last night, that I don't know if it's just, Colorado blows them out in game 5, then Dallas or in game 4, Dallas blows them out game 5, and now we're back. It doesn't matter going in. I think that game last night spoke volumes, man. I don't know. That to me was a team saying enough is enough. We are awake now, and call it recency bias, but it feel like they kind of took the soul from Colorado last night. And I'm going to be really, really curious to see what happens on Thursday night. I think McKinnon has been McKinnon, but not extra McKinnon. And I think Makar has been Makar for maybe half of the series, if that. And Mackenzie Blackwood, full marks for games 1 through 4. Incredible. That's the
Mackenzie Blackwood I know.
Right. And that's a 2-0 hole that was on him. Both of those goals he should have had. So anyway, I'll throw it to you, man. What do you make of that Dallas Stars performance? Should we read into it at all, or is Colorado still Colorado and it won't matter come Thursday night?
I expect this series to go 7. But look, if Dallas can play like the way it's been playing on the road, like if they play Game 3 and not Game 4, like if they play the style that they played in Game 5 and Game 3 and do that in Colorado, yeah, then they have a chance to win. Like I'm gonna be honest, like this is a good Dallas Stars team. Mikko Rantanen showed he's like, yeah, enough of this stuff. I'm gonna turn it up. Wyatt Johnson, they got called out. Jake Ottinger got the rest that he needed. The defense is stepping up. Power play scoring, like contributions from everybody. They're just trying to will themselves to the second round because they know certain defenseman is going to be ready for the second round. Miro Heiskanen, and say he's ready for Game 6. Maybe he plays. If there's a Game 7 and he's ready to go, I wouldn't be shocked to see Miro Heiskanen in Game 7. Like, I do believe that this team, we said it too, Jake Ottinger's the better goaltender. They have the offense to match Colorado. Yes, Landeskog's back. Okay, all well and good. Congratulations. Like, it's a great story. But he's not the same player he was 3 years ago. Like, yeah, he had the impact in Game 4 and he came back, but he's still been he's really invisible, I'm going to be honest. Kel McCarr's been invisible in this series. Like, Nathan McKinnon's the only one that's carrying the Colorado Avalanche right now. But when Colorado gets going, downhill on those tracks, it's tough to stop them. Dallas power play goal yesterday changed that momentum after it was 3-2. That was 100%. That was huge for them, and then they get another one. It was 5-2, and I pretty much was like, all right, that's the game. I'm going to sleep because I'll be ready. I'll be ready for Tuesday. But no, I think Dallas admirably showing and shutting up a lot of people who thought they didn't have a chance in this series because it's Colorado. They got the 2 best players in the world. Like, the dynamic, all this. Sometimes there's a matchup that a team likes, and clearly the Dallas Stars love playing against the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs.
I think it was a blessing in disguise in a way if Colorado does win on Thursday and it gets pushed to a Game 7, which I assume would be on Saturday. I think it's a blessing in disguise that they got kind of beat the way that they did last night, because Nathan McKinnon, if I were to give you the over-under on Nathan McKinnon's minutes last night and set it at 21 and a half, I feel like you and everybody else would pick the over. And he only played 20 minutes last night, and I have to assume I haven't done some deep dive on the periods and blah blah blah. Yeah. I would have to guess that if that game was close in the third period, he would have played half of the third period. And I think that something with the Dallas Stars that I do think is really coming to fruition right now, and I'll be writing about this later tonight, is their depth.
Excuse me.
Like, Colorado's big boys play so much, and Dallas is so like distributed across the boards. It feels like that might be something to watch moving in. Like, McKinnon, he played like 29 minutes the other night. Like, he's just always on the ice, and I feel like at some point that's not going to be sustainable.
No, it's not. It can't be, right? Like, you see it throughout. Then we'll get to the other series. But, like, top guys can't be playing 30 minutes a game. Like, at some point it catches up with you. Like, that's why you have to have a balanced lineup, and I think the Stars are doing that. When they need their horses, they're going to have their horses. And if Mikko Rantanen's going to have 3 points again in Game 6, and he's going to play like that, and he's going to play physical, and he's going to look like the guy that was in Colorado, and he's looking like the guy that was mad that he was traded, Dallas found themselves something, and Colorado better watch out, because now you got to deal with him for 8 more seasons.
Well, and I think, and the last thing on this series from me is, it's important in the playoffs to get goals from random guys. We've seen it from the Maple Leafs, like Benoit scoring an overtime winner. You need guys like that in the playoffs. For the Dallas Stars, Tyler Seguin or Sagan.
Ben scored. Think about that. How many
Jamie Benn.
You've covered this team for a while. How many times over early before they got their depth guys, before Robertson and Johnston and Pavelski got there, even when those guys were there, how many times did we hear the GM or the owner say, we need more from Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn? Once they got the depth, those guys fit in nicely. The pressure was off. Then they became themselves. And we have yet to hear about Matt Duchene in this series.
And I think that's kind of where I'm coming from is before last night. So after the Tampa Bay game and before the Dallas game, the Dallas Stars were tied for dead last in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs in goals for with 7. Unfortunately, they were tied with your beloved New Jersey Devils. After last night, they catapulted to 9th. You did tell me. You did. But they were getting goals from unsung guys, Colin Blackwell and blah, blah, blah. At some point in time, even though you need random guys to score for you, at some point in time, you need Wyatt Johnston, Mikko Rantanen. You need those guys to produce for you. And like you said, Matt Duchene still hasn't put his fingerprints on this series at all. So big night last night for the Dallas Stars. I picked them in 7, so I feel good about it. And we'll see what happens on Thursday night. All right, Jim. Winnipeg Jets, St. Louis Blues.
Yep.
I picked the Jets in 6 games. I do have to say to you that there were doubts in my head, and this isn't revisionist history. This is how I felt about it. I cover the Dallas Stars. I do cover the Jets a little bit as well, so I've had my eye on this series. Heading into the series, I did feel like this is not a cakewalk. I can see a world where St. Louis wins this series, but I am choosing to believe that the Winnipeg Jets are a different hockey team, that Connor Hellebuck is a different goalie in the playoffs, and that the Winnipeg Jets have figured it out and they will get the job done in this round 1 of the playoffs. And in game 1, the Jets were leading 3-2 for half the game. The Jets found a way to get the job done and get a win. Game 2, hard fought, 2-1 win. For the most part, very close series up until that point. Games 3 and 4 were 0 contest. 0. And I know that the Winnipeg Jets, Kyle Connor, as you mentioned earlier, he scored the first goal of the game on Sunday afternoon. Good for him. Where's everybody else? The Blues have done a terrific job neutralizing Mark Scheifele and getting under the skin of Connor Hellebuck. However, I don't know if they even need to get under the skin of Connor Hellebuck because I feel like he's doing that all by himself. When 100%. Well, I don't understand. I mean, I do, but I don't. I don't understand when that goalie lets in a couple of bad goals or any goal for that matter. The heads of the defensemen on the Winnipeg Jets just fall off their bodies. They look lost out there. Out of all of the different series, I'm looking at all the different series, and I thought that Montreal would push this to 7 games. I thought the Devils would push the Canes to 7 and maybe even win. I thought that the Leafs and the Ottawa Senators would go 6 games. I feel like the Leafs closed it out tonight. We'll talk about that. I thought that Vegas would be easy peasy. The Wild, they're doing their thing. There's lots of different series. This has to be the one where if I had a do-over, we should have seen this coming, right? Because I'll tell you what, I have a colleague at the Hockey Writers who covers the Jets, and he is convinced that the Jets will not win one more game, that this series is done. It's over. I didn't go that far, but I will say if the Jets don't win tomorrow night, then it is over. They're not winning 2 straight against this Blues team again.
Look, I'll say this. Connor, I said this. I said this when I did my Pucks and 7 take with Victoria Matiash and Ryan Payton today. I said this. Look, Connor Hellebuck needs to be better. It's all mental, and there was a lot of teams in front of him, a lot of players that did that Olay BS, right? Did a little flybys playing some D, and I've been the biggest Connor Hellebuck defender before, right? But here's the problem. The issue is this. Connor Hellebuck needs to make that first save. He can't let in a bad goal. Once he does, the team in front of him has an issue, right? So here's the thing for me. Look, I'll say this. You can't have guys change completely how they play defense either. Now, look, I'm trying to defend, and I was trying to defend Connor Hellebuck the other day. I had a colleague of mine that, we went back and forth on, and he was like, it's admirable what you're trying to do, but his numbers are just not there in the playoffs for some reason. The team has even covered it up in the regular season. He's got to make a save. The problem is when he lets in one bad goal or a goal period, the entire team goes like this.
Yes, 100%.
And they can't get out of their own way. Like, now, to be fair, the team in front of him has to play better too. He does but he has to play better because there were some goals that he let in that should not have let in. But I think I'm going to say this, and he can talk about styles and goalies, and I'm not a goalie guy. I'm not the goalie whisperer, but I'm a shooter. The minute the goaltender goes down, I'm shooting high. And that's all he does is go down and play butterfly. That's why Martin Brodeur was so good. He played that hybrid style. He stood in his place. Connor Hellebuck may have to change how he plays the game to become a playoff goaltender.
Yeah.
Look, he's great. He's probably going to win the Vezina. Andre Vasilevsky, since winning those 2 Stanley Cups, has let in some bad goals in the playoffs too. So he hasn't really performed in the playoffs since those Stanley Cup victories either. He's performed better, no doubt. But again, the Winnipeg Jets need the lead. They need to play with a lead. And I think that's the problem. They're a front-running team that they love playing with a lead, locking it down defensively, and go from there. The problem is the Blues are just dictating play over and over and over, shift after shift after shift.
Yeah.
Winnipeg has no answer right now.
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about Vasilevsky, he openly talked about, I believe it was an article with Kevin Woodley, where he openly talked about he had to change his game. The old Vasi is back because he is new. It's not the same. And I'm not a goalie nerd either. So I'm not going to break down for you guys why he's different and what he's done differently. You check out Kevin Woodley's piece and you can watch the games yourself. I'm just saying he openly talks about that he had to change his game. And I'm right there with you. I think that's the concerning thing, man, is like, I was telling my buddy this, like, if Larry Brossoit was backing up Hellebuck still, I would heavily consider starting him on Thursday night because Brossoit last year, he was one of the best backup goaltenders in the National Hockey League.
Larry Brossoit's the man. That's why.
He's legit. And he has playoff.
By the way, Larry Brossoit beat Connor Hellebuck in the playoffs.
Yes.
Just remember that.
100%. And I mean, without him, I don't know if it's fair to say without him, Vegas doesn't win, but he had his hand in Vegas winning the cup. Like, he had games started.
He's been out, as somebody told me, he's been outperformed by every goaltender in the playoffs outside of the year the Jets went to the Western Conference Final. He outperformed Saros, and I believe who did they play that year in the first round?
Wild, I think.
Yeah. So he outperformed Devin Dubnyk and you see and Pecorine, the 2 guys that are not in the league anymore, and both were on the back end of his careers.
Yeah.
but he got outperformed by Marc-Andre Fleury, Larry Brossoit, Carey Price, and you could argue Carey Price was the better goalie in that series with Montreal. But again, look, they need to fit, and I think they beat Edmonton in the first round that year. So Edmonton's goaltending was Mike Smith. Like, I mean, again, he's been outperformed by everybody, and Binnington's doing it again. Binnington has confidence. He doesn't. He needs to find it quickly, or else the Winnipeg Jets are going home in 6 games.
100%. And I just they like you said, like that was what really, really spoke to me, man. Was like you talked about that, like, you know, game 1, the Blues play with the lead for half the game, and the Jets found a way to get the job done. Game 2 was very tight, 50-50 game, could have gone either way. Game 3 and 4, there was not even a contest. Like you lose 7-2 and 5-1. Like you're
not even close.
That's not even close. So it'll be really interesting to see moving forward. And I do think it opens up a larger conversation that we can't have right now. That guy is signed for the next 8 years or 7 or whatever's left. Like he is going nowhere. And
zero.
His contract is friendly enough that you might be able to get someone to take it. I don't know. That's another conversation, but he has to figure out something. But like you said, man, I'm right there with you. Yes, he has to play better, but this team has to find a way to keep their heads on their bodies when he lets in a bad goal. If that happens, they have to find a way to play defense in front of them. All right, moving on really, really quickly. I want to get your thoughts on the Kings and the Oilers, because it's actually, you know what? Like they play tonight. There are many like different storylines.
Here, I got one. I got a storyline for you in this game.
Okay.
And it goes back, and it also goes to the Florida Panther and Tampa Bay Lightning series too. I'm gonna preach like Don Cherry used to preach on Hockey Night in Canada.
Hit me.
Kids, get the puck out of your own zone.
Oh my gosh.
Do it. Third period, do it. As a kid, when I was a fan of the New Jersey Devils, I would scream at my television when they had the puck and they were pinned in their own zone and yell, "Get it out," when they had a lead. And that was the prime Devil defense. And they were like the puck was, I'm like, just get the puck out of the zone. Get it out. Just get it out any way possible. Flip it. Do whatever you have to do. Get it out of the zone. The same thing. Look, Byfield has a chance to just chip the puck out of the zone. Doesn't even need to shoot free open net. Go make the other team go 200 feet. It kills time. Yesterday, Jake Getzel, get the puck out of your zone, man. Like, do it.
Well, so yeah, that like lightning collapse. We don't got the time to get into that. I just couldn't believe the storylines all over. Like, of course, what's his name?
Hagel, Ekblad.
Ekblad. He throws the hit. Of course, he's the one to score the game-tying goal, and then we know what happens after that. But I just felt like that series, Tampa Bay, Florida, is less compelling to me because I feel like after Tampa Bay lost both of their first 2 games at home, in my mind, it was over. Like, yes, Tampa Bay is a very, very good team. That's another one. I picked them to win this series. But you lose both of your games at home to begin the series to the Florida Panthers, it's done. Like they're not coming back. I am very confident in that. They had it. They could have tied the series last night, but I didn't think that they were going to win that anyway. So I do want to talk about Kings and Oilers, and let's just go a little bit backwards here, and let's get into the games tonight. The Edmonton Oilers in Los Angeles to take on the Kings in Game 5. The Kings, and I just want to make sure that I get this right, the Kings are minus 126 favorites. Edmonton plus 105, minus 1.5 for the Kings on the puck lines, plus 186, plus 1.5 for the Oilers, minus 235, over 6.5, plus 104. Under is minus 128. This series should be over. It should be a sweep. Two-goal leads in back-to-back third periods. An awful coach's challenge. You already talked about Quentin Byfield. This series should be done. Over 4-0. The Oilers are gone. Not only did they lose to the Kings, but they got swept by the Kings. Instead, I don't know where to go. I picked the Kings to win this series. I want to stay confident on that pick, but after what we've seen the last two games, I mean, the like Oilers plus 105, I feel like you should dabble in if this was football, I would pick like Kings to win the first half and Oilers to win the game, because that's exactly what we've been seeing in these last two games.
Look, Jim Miller can talk about, next question and be, Drew Rosenhaus all he wants. The fact of the matter is his team let the Oilers dictate play in the third period for 3 out of the 4 games.
Yep.
He got away with it in game 1 because the Kings were at home.
Yep.
The other 2 games are inexcusable when you dominate for 40 minutes through 4 periods. There's no excuse to let a team dominate 2 20-minute periods and lose the game up 2 goals. That should not happen.
No.
So here's the thing. LA wins at home tonight, but it will be a 1-goal game. The LA Kings will find a way to win on home ice because that's what they do.
Yeah.
The problem is Jim Miller needs to rely on his defense, and he needs to rely on Brant Clark and other guys and his fourth line and his third line and rotate lines, because you can't win playing 9 guys and expect the fatigue factor is just gonna come in, and you saw it. Oh, and maybe play a third period not in your own zone. That would be helpful, because Darcy Kemper did everything possible to make sure it was 3-2. And they wasted a great performance in Game 4 by Darcy Kemper. So, go score goals. Go score on a power play. Take care of business and get the puck out of your zone. Then you'll win the game.
It wasn't like Darcy Kemper. That wasn't just through the 60 minutes. That overtime period was 1,000% the Oilers, and Kemper just was absolutely brilliant for that entire fourth period. Man.
You look at it, right? Real quick. You look at it. Go back to Game 3. They dominated the whole overtime, too. Yeah, was it a cheesy call? Yeah. But you know what? That's not why the Kings lost the game. So
Game 3, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, big deal. So what? That's not the reason you lost the game. The reason you lost the game is because you just allowed the Oilers to just do whatever they wanted.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is if the Oilers do win this series, it will be defined by, the third periods and all that stuff. It'll be defined by 2 decisions: that coach's challenge and, of course, Quentin Byfield. I feel bad for Byfield, honestly, because he had a coming out party this year, bro. Everyone's waiting for this kid.
He made a mistake, but mistake cost him a goal.
100%, right? Live and learn and the whole deal. The thing that I find funny, and we'll wrap this up and move on to the next game, is the Oilers have enough of their own demons, man. This whole Stuart Skinner, Calvin Pickard, the Evander Kane, and the this and that, and the depth, and Bouchard, who, this is another conversation for another day. Maybe the most polarizing person in the entire National Hockey League. When he sucks, the whole league lights him on fire. And when he scores 2 goals, the whole league is like, this guy's the next Paul Coffey. It's so funny how people flip-flop on this guy. But the Oilers have their own problems. They don't have their best defenseman. They have a very, very, very thin unit. As far as their forwards go, they don't need any help by the Kings. They have their own issues, and the Kings just wasted, like, I cannot say this enough. This series should be over. It should be done, and they should be waiting for Vegas and the Wild to continue to beat each other up. But instead, we're going into Game 5 tonight, tied 2-2. I do lean Kings as well. It's hard for me, not quite in the fashion of the Winnipeg St. Louis series, but after wasting the opportunity that the Kings had, it's hard for me to back them, but I think I would go that as well. Let's just go backwards here. Minnesota, Vegas. Minnesota just continues to be disrespected in the betting markets. Plus 190 for the Wild to win tonight. Vegas minus 235. Minus 1.5 for Vegas is plus 116. Plus 1.5 for the Wild, minus 142. Over 5.5 is minus 130, and the under is plus 106. I love the Wild plus 1.5 at minus 142, and I love the under 5.5 at plus 106. I do like the Wild to win this game. The plus 190 is beautiful.
That's a given. I'm taking a plus 190 Minnesota all day too.
Okay, let's go. I thought.
Look,
The last game, Jim, I thought that the Wild deserved to win that game.
They were the better team. 100% better team. But here's the thing. You look at it, right, and you say to yourself, Vegas found a way to win a hockey game they shouldn't. Maybe that wakes them up tonight, and I could see why, because the line is minus 235 with them at home. I know all the books are there and stuff, but I think a lot of people expect Vegas to have their best showing of the Stanley Cup playoffs in Game 5 because they realize they're in a series. They realize that they won a game where a lot of things went their way, and that was a game they needed. Or else it's 3-1 Minnesota, and oh boy, then there's going to be a lot of questions. That might have changed momentum in that series to go Vegas's way, but the way this young Minnesota Wild team is playing, I can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, and we talked about it like during the preview, Kaprizov and the goaltender, right? I mean, Gustafson's played tremendous, and was really the key for them to succeed. And we talked about this too, man. Jack Eichel, where are you, bud? Time for you to take a stranglehold of this series. Moving on to your neck of the woods. I mean, some injuries have, you know what? There's always the underdog that like wins. And I just thought I would take a shot in the dark and pick the Devils. Well, this series it is, and listen, you know what, Jim? I'll be honest. I don't like it when people say I'll be honest because it makes me think that they haven't been honest for the entire time we've been talking. But I'll just say I'll be honest. This is the least watched. I'm covering 2 series. I have a newborn, a toddler. I gotta, cut something out of this. And this is the series that I have chosen to. I think I've watched like 2 periods of it. So this is all you, brother. This series, like done tonight, or the Devils like finding a way to live another day.
Look, this
also, Freddie Anderson, I knew this guy. I knew he could not survive a series. I hate that for him.
Look, I'll say this real quick because, Carolina's winning the game. Series is over in 5. That was my prediction beforehand, so I'm staying with it. Devils have too many injuries. No one's sure if Siegenthaler or Pesci are going to play. Game time decisions. A lot of game time decisions, apparently. All right. Kachekov, throw rubber. Where's your offense coming from? You have no depth scoring. You're not playing Kowalski. Everything is stacked against New Jersey in this game. Do they find a way? Maybe. But I don't think so. Carolina's too good at home. 3-14 and 17 playoff games. If you want to throw some money, you're gonna have to throw a lot of money down on Carolina to win big. It's over. Move on. Let's talk about the next game. Leafs and Sens. Let's go.
All right. Let's go. And let's wrap it up. We have this game, and then as always, we'll throw out our best bets, and then we will leave you off to have some dinner and get into a full slate of NHL hockey after only 2 games last night, a full 4 tonight. My guy Jordan in the chat, we need a Maple Leafs meltdown live stream, Mark. The fans are owed it. This guy, he's a writer for Total Apex, and yeah, we'll see what happens. If the Leafs lose tonight, you know it's going to be lots of demons coming to poke their heads up. Maple Leafs minus 176 favorites now. Was minus 166, now minus 176. The Senators still plus 146, minus 1.5 for the Leafs, plus 152, plus 1.5 for the Senators, minus 188. The over 5.5, minus 115. The under 5.5, minus 105. I will kind of share my thoughts. Listen, the Leafs, they dominated game one. Might be a bit of a stretch, but definitely the better team in game one. After that, 3 straight games going to overtime. I thought the Leafs have been awesome on the power play. I think for the most part, the Leafs have controlled 5-on-5 play in this series, but Ottawa's been full marks, man. They've been right there. The story in almost every game so far is Stolarz for the Leafs has made saves that like Allmark just hasn't been able to. That story changed on Saturday as Ottawa finally got a win and pushed a game 5 tonight. I think this game is over. I've been saying this for a long time now. I believe this Maple Leafs team is different. I also believe game 4 chance to sweep. If this was any other year, I think they would have gotten pumped like 5-0. And the fact that they had the opportunity to win that game in overtime, I'll say it a million times over. I believe in this team, and I think tonight at home, they come to play. I think they're big boys who have been, this is by far, at least with my eyeballs, I maybe could look up some stats and maybe I'd be proven wrong. With my eyeballs, this is the best 3-game stretch that their big boys have played in the last however many playoff runs that they've had. I believe in this team. I think they get the job done. I will take the Maple Leafs on the puck line. I know the last 3 games have gone to overtime. I just have a feeling tonight, all the like playoff games added up, you have the edge. You have the better players. You have the better goalie. Go out there, get the job done, win by 2, 3, 4, whatever. Just get it done. Because I'll tell you what, Jim, if they don't get it done tonight and it's 3-2 back to Ottawa, this city it won't be on fire, but people will be buying matches. And they'll be putting newspaper out on the street, and they'll be getting their Kindle ink ready, and they'll be ready to set some fires. In just a few days' time. So I'm taking the Leafs minus 1.5 at plus 152. What do you got for us, Leafs Senators, on Tuesday? This Tuesday night.
I think the big boys are going to show up. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs, look, if they don't close out this series, like you said, you summed it up perfectly. That's all you're going to hear is Leafs can't get it done. Leafs can't get it done. One and whatever now. I think the big boys know. I think the big boys are going to come out, and they're going to end this game in the first period. I think they're going to go Vegas like they did. Vegas the year when they were playing the Stars said, nah, enough of this stuff. Time to go home. Time to wrap it up, and let's move on and get some rest. I think the big boys show up because this is a different Maple Leafs team. I like Austin Matthews to score. I think Mitchie's going to do his thing. Point for all the big guns tonight. I think that's what's going to happen. Give me the Leafs. Give me it on a puck line. That's it.
One thing that worked out well for me a couple nights ago, I think game 3, it was the Leafs on the money line and Matthews and Marner each getting 2+ points. That worked out very nicely for me. I like it again, but this time on the puck line, minus 1.5 for the Leafs. Mitchell, Marner, and Austin Matthews each have 2 points. That is a combined plus 426 on.
I like it.
So I like
That's
that.
That's my best bet for tonight.
Yeah, that parlay.
Yeah.
Let's just do that then as our best bet. Brought to you by I love it. First Round Collectibles, best bets, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off selected cards in the First Round Collectibles store. And with the promo code Sports Addict, you get up to 10% off regular priced and sales price items. That's up to 60% off selected cards. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code Sports Addict, 10% off your order. Usually we go through, we pick a little bit from every game, but you know what? I like this one, man. Maple Leafs -1.5 is +152. Marner, 2+ points, +146. Matthews, plus 2+ points, +164. That is +426.
Big boys are going to show up tonight.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Jim, once again, man, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. As always, tell the people, what do you got coming up, whether it's some writing, some shows. I know that you just did the Pucks in 7 pod with Victoria Matiash and Ryan Payton. What else you got going on? What can the good people look for to find your work?
Yeah, I got some things cooking. Obviously, Stanley Cup playoff coverage for the New Jersey Devils, along with some other series as well, but Full Press Hockey. Got some things percolating for RG Media and NHLRumors.com. I dropped a couple of articles, one in regards to what we talked about some coaches, about the Red Wings. I'm going to starting to line up some guests for the podcast as well. New episodes up on Full Press Hockey as well. Final Word on Hockey that we did is out, so go check that out. I will be posting a lot of stuff as well, catching up on some things here along the way. So, follow along at Jim Berenger on Twitter. Check it out.
Absolutely love it. Once again, Jim, I appreciate you, man. And everybody else, I appreciate you for sticking with us. I know our shows have been kind of sporadic over the last little bit, but trying to get back into regular coverage as much as we can. Me and Andre, we're doing our thing. He's still dealing with his stuff. He'll be back at some point in time. TotalApexSports.com. Check out lots of great coverage on the NBA playoffs, NHL, draft, baseball, all that stuff. FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Promo code SportsAddict, 10% off. We'll see you next time.